Well, hi guys, it's been a long time since I made a video. I hope I remember how to do this. But anyhow, over the winter, I did manage to buy a C5 Corvette. It's a 2000 Corvette. I found it initially on eBay, and then with a little bit of research, I found out the guy that was selling it was from a place called the Auto Vault. And this is in California, San Capistrano, I believe. Anyhow, the pictures of the car that was on eBay were kind of grainy, a little blurry, and not very many of them. But I kind of liked the car, so every once in a while I would check it out. This all happened in mid-October into November, and you know, every once a week or maybe sometimes a couple times a week, I would just check out to see if that car was still there. Well, one day I was looking at it, and all of a sudden a banner flashed up across on my screen. Now I'm on eBay now, and it said for the next 3 hours we're offering a $3,000 discount on the car. So that was, believe it or not, I shouldn't have done it, but I jumped at it and I called and I took that deal, $5,000 off of the asking price of the car. So I'm thinking, what did I just do? I haven't seen the car in person. I have no idea how it is mechanically, aesthetically. The car had 63,900 miles on it. So it wasn't a low mileage vehicle, and I knew I'm going to have issues that I'll have to correct. So I had done it. It was too late to back out. I mean, I guess I could have, but I didn't. So I purchased the car. The Auto Vault was good enough to let me store it there for the winter. I didn't want to chance bringing this across country into New York State in the winter months, and I thought, well, I wouldn't be driving it anyhow. I mean, I could go over it ahead of time, but I figured, well, I'll wait till the weather breaks. And in March it finally broke enough where I felt comfortable having it shipped. So when the car arrived, the trucker drove it into the driveway. I checked quickly to make sure there was no damage, you know, major damage to the body or anything like that. The car was filthy, and this is an enclosed trailer. This came up, I wanted it in an enclosed trailer, that's how it came. But they, when I decided to have it shipped in mid-March, they sent a picture from California of the car getting loaded onto the transport. Well, you know, this is a convertible, by the way. They didn't have the top up. I mean, the top was down. You'd think they would have put the top up to ship this car across country. As far as the body goes, the initial cleaning of the panels and that revealed a lot of swirls, a lot of fine scratches, and the car I don't think was ever maintained that well at some point in time. So I did a lot of paint correction on it to a degree, because I didn't know how much clear coat was left on the car. So I got the panels in, I would say, a very presentable condition, and I was pretty happy with it. There was only one small paint chip on the front nose of the car, maybe about 1/8 of an inch around. That was the main thing showing on the car, just that little paint chip. Underneath the car, kind of a different story, where the rockers roll under, the front rolls under. There's scrapes, nicks and stuff in the paint there, but you don't see it normally. If you're just standing or looking around the car, you're not going to see that unless you bend down and really look for something like that. The interior of the car needed a lot of work. The seats are white and they've been neglected, so they were on the yellowish, very dingy side. I had my work cut out for me with getting that kind of restored. All of the actual leather in the car needed to be brought up to standards. The vinyl parts of the car, that wasn't too bad. That cleaned up pretty readily. But the leather took some time. I took the seats right out of the car, I did all the prep work on them, and then I did the leather bomb on them to bring it back up to white, and they look pretty good now. Mechanically, I was worried about the common issue for the C5, and that's the harmonic balancer wobbling and needing replacement. So when I looked down with a flashlight, I could see a little wobble. I called my wife over just to verify what I was looking at. She says, yeah, it's wobbling. So I replaced the harmonic balancer. This is the old one. I mean, what you can see of it, it really doesn't look in that bad of condition, but the elastomer rubber, and it's hard to see, but the elastomer rubber is starting to deteriorate. It's very cracked. Even though the pieces look pretty even all around, there is some indent up here with the rubber. And I said, oh, I'm not going to take a chance with this. I'm just going to replace it. I ended up, the harmonic balancer I bought was a power bond balancer. It may have been made by Daco. Anyhow, it looked very similar to the old one. Very similar. So the Summit tool works great in that balancer also. So just to satisfy my curiosity, I thought I'd call a Chevy dealer and see how much they would charge to replace the harmonic balancer. They gave me an estimate of $1,600. They said it's just an estimate though, but it'll be around $1,600. So I thought to myself, well, I've got about $1,200 worth of points saved up on my GM card, and I could use them for service. And then it would only cost me about $400. I talked to a few guys about it, and they say, no, do it yourself. And I thought, and the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, they're telling me it's just an estimate. Now, if they get into it, and different things that have to come off the car to go back on, for instance, like the sway bar, and they see that the end links are shot. Well, mine were, and if you do this job, you're going to really want to take a look at your end links on the sway bar, because the sway bar's got to come off, and these are shot. There's no rubber cups left, no grease left. So while you're doing this job, look at everything else that may need replacement, because that was one of them. The other thing, this is my belt tensioner for the AC compressor. You want to replace that even if you've got a little bit of a doubt, because you don't want to tear everything out again to get at this thing. This thing would be very difficult to take out without removing most of the stuff you got to take out of the car anyhow to get at the harmonic balancer. So this one just spins and spins and spins. The bearings or something's got to be gone in here. So it's $35. I replaced it. So one of the tools that I did buy to do this job was this device from Summit Racing. This holds your harmonic balancer in place, so you can torque off the existing crank bolt and torque the new one on. Otherwise, I guess there's another way of taking your starter motor off and getting into the flywheel or whatever. And I said, I'm not going to bother with that. I think you have to lower your exhaust system. And I says, I know it's like, I think it was like 90 bucks or something, but it works great. The only thing you got to do, and I don't know why they didn't do it, this one leg here, this was round. It won't fit in your balancer that way. So you got to grind it down on these two sides here. And then it'll fit into the balancer. But other than that, it works great. And I kind of recommend this. So the other thing I want to mention concerns the radiators. While doing this harmonic replacement job, I decided to get some more room that I would need. I'm going to take down the cooling fans on the back side of the radiator. And that required taking the hold down shroud off the top and the cooling fans out, which wasn't a big deal. But when I looked down from the top, I looked down the radiator to the condenser, and that space in there, honest to God, it was clogged with grass and debris. I don't know how the car didn't overheat, and that was a little bit concerning because I was wondering, did it ever? So anyhow, I was using compressed air. I couldn't get the stuff out. I even tried my shop vac on blow, and it wasn't doing it. So I ended up using a Swifter duster. I was able to get in between there, and oh, you're gonna laugh, but a fly swatter. And so I just gently went down the fins and that and worked the debris loose. A lot of it fell out, and then I did the air again, and I kept doing that back and forth, and finally I got all the fins cleaned out. But check that, you know, I don't know anything. I didn't know anything about C5 Corvettes, you know, and they call them bottom feeders. So the air comes in almost at the road level or whatever, and sucks up through there, and sucks up all leaves and debris, grass, whatever happens to come through there. So take a good look at your radiators, because man, I couldn't believe how clogged that. I can't believe how clogged my radiator was. Yeah, I don't know if you can see this, but the radiator is just about clogged with grass. I don't know how so much could get in there and stand up on edge. But between the condenser and the radiator, whew, I gotta try to blow all this crap out somehow. But it goes across the whole radiator. I'm hoping this engine never overheated, because I can't believe that nobody has taken care of this before. Maybe you can see this too. This is in front of the condenser unit and the shroud. It's just packed up at the top with debris, grass, leaves, all kinds of stuff. So I got to get that all scraped out too. Now I know what they mean by bottom feeders. The good thing I found out about the at least the cooling fans when I got the car on the road finally was that they were coming on at about 190 degrees. 190 degrees. So I'm thinking that somebody at some point had these fans retuned to come on sooner than the 225 on low speed and 235 on high speed for these cooling fans to come on. I didn't realize that either. I used to own a 2004 SSR, Chevrolet SSR. And the thing that always got to me was that the temperature gauge made me nervous all the time. These fans worked the same way. The low speed would come on at 225, the high speed at 235, And sitting in traffic or anything like that, you're always like, is this thing gonna quit on me? Is it gonna overheat to that degree, you know? And sometimes it went past 235 and I'm going, I don't like this. So I was prepared for that to happen when I started taking the car out for its sort of test run to see what was going on with it and make sure everything was all right. And I noticed as it got up to temp, and it was right around 190, I could hear the cooling fans come on. Now, I don't know if it's on low speed or high speed, but I could definitely hear the fans kick on. And driving after that, after they kicked on, it never really came up past the 190. So I was happy to see that. And it also kind of made me feel at ease that I didn't think the engine really overheated at any time. The one thing, you know, when I changed the oil, that was the other thing. The one thing when I changed the oil, somebody had written 2018 on the oil filter. So I'm thinking that was the last time the oil had been changed, was in 2018. And the third owner acquired the car in 2012. At the time, the car had, maybe 60,800 miles on it. When he got rid of it in 2023, it had the 63,900 miles. But in all of that time, it looked like he only chose 2018 to change the oil. And I don't think the car was ever detailed. The leather was never, even though the leather's in good condition, there's no cracks or rips or anything in any of the leather. It was just neglected as far as dirt and filth. I don't think he paid much attention to this car, and he drove it in 11 years, the 3,000 miles. So after I told the Auto Vault that I'd like to have the car stored there until after winter and get it shipped in March, nothing else transpired. There wasn't any phone calls, there wasn't any paperwork sent to me, there was nothing. And I kind of dropped the ball myself, and I had talked to a friend, and he says, you didn't pursue this? He says, it's not like you. It's like you're not impulsive normally, and just kind of winging this thing. I mean, like, okay. And finally, I called them. The Auto Vault one was in March. And I said, I still don't have a title for this car. I still haven't received any paperwork on the contract from you guys. I need a bill of sale. I need the title if I'm going to get this thing registered in New York. So they finally started doing the paperwork. And I should have did it much sooner, because the title from California took about 6-7 weeks to get. Don't ask me why. They had to have the bill of lading from the shipper. There was all kinds of stuff, requirement that they needed. But I finally got it, got the contract, everything went through. When the shipper said it was going to take a week to get the car, it only took 3 days. Everything actually went smoothly. I was very lucky. Very lucky. I didn't get hoodwinked. So I'm thankful for that. And actually, I love the car. In the next video, I'm going to show you the car and we'll talk more in depth on it. What I just told you guys probably will have taken me at least 2-3 hours to edit so I can get it nice and smooth, at least as smooth as I can get it. I'm far from any expert doing these videos, so I won't bore you anymore with this one. And I'm hoping you like this car that I got. And and I'll see you next time.